Okay, today we're going to do a pool wash. It's a dark pool, it's a French gray. What we're going to do when we get here, what we're going to start now is we're going to do a little pre-spot stuff. So any spots that I see up here, we had a little bit of puddling. I'm going to do a little pre-wash on that. I'm going to walk around, and any spots that I see that there's heavy cream, what I'm going to do is do a little pre-wash on it. This is where water sat at and brought up. Remember, your water needs calcium, so it's bringing the calcium out of the material. That's why you're seeing that white film out here. Whenever we're acid washing or using pool wash, what we're doing is we're removing this haze where water was on top of the surface, and it pulled the calcium out of the material, and it leaves that white haze. So what I do is come around any spot where it's heavy at, I just pre-treat it a little bit. This gives it a little bit more time to work on where there's more calcium, more of that haze. So I go around, I hit that, and then I walk around with my grinder, and I'll walk around, and if I see a spot that needs to be touched up, I'll touch it up now. Remember, I'm going to use this a few times because the better I expose it, the better I hydrate it, the more spots I'm going to see that I need to touch up. What we're trying to do is the minute this pool, when we start watering this pool, we're done. We're not coming back out to grind on one little spot or touch something up. We want it done to where when the pool is filled up, we don't have to come back. We're using pool wash, so we're getting away from all this scaling and feet print and streaking, and we're going to make the pool look good. That's when you come around and you touch everything up with your grinder and whatnot, to where you don't have to come back and fix a little spot. Here in Jacksonville, Florida, our pool builders hold us accountable for, if the spot's as big as my thumbnail and they can see it from the deck, they want it repaired. So what we're going to try and do is after each stage of what we're doing in the pool wash, we're going to take our grinder and we're going to touch it up. Once I touch that up, I'm going to shoot a little pool wash on it. That way, that pool wash is, when you're going to use your grinder, remember, you're polishing it, so the texture is going to be different. If the texture is different, it'll look different. So that's why I'll polish it and then put a little bit more pool wash on it, so I can make it so you can see where we pre-spotted everything. You couldn't do that with muriatic acid. Remember, pool wash doesn't dissolve. It doesn't fix bad plastering. It just gets that haze off. That's all it's doing, is dissolving that haze. It's not, you're not exposing with pool wash. You're just making it look better. You're burning off all that haze. So two things I'm going to tell you before we get going is pool wash costs more than muriatic acid. So when people first get it there, how much does it cost? And you tell them, they're like, wow, well, muriatic acid is so much cheaper. Well, no, it's not, because what I do is you see this pump. This pump is set up to where once I get enough pool wash in the pool, I recycle it. So on this size pool right here, this is about 500 square foot. I would usually use about 8 or 9 gallons of acid, walk around and spray it on, and then pump it out. Well, what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to put in about 4.5 gallons, and I'm going to recycle it using this pump system. I'm going to recycle it around 4 or 5 times to where I get the results I'm looking for. You don't have to, you just put enough product in the pool to where you can recycle it. It's actually cheaper than acid once you do that. So this machine we made to where you can apply this product evenly. Look at that. And I'm not going to burn that sun bench until a little bit later. I'm going to burn that last. Well, I'm going to pool wash it last. And as you can see, I'm not really too worried about getting some on that coping. Because remember, this isn't muriatic acid. This isn't dissolving concrete products. This is just getting that haze off. So all I'm trying to do now is saturate my finish. I'm just trying to saturate it. I'm trying to get it to where this finish absorbs this into those capillaries, into those pores, so I can get the results I'm looking for. And remember, while I'm doing this, I'm talking on the phone, I got all my equipment around me. I don't have a respirator on. I'm not choking, not coughing, not to it. It's a nice, even spray. Now, a lot of people, when they try and use this product, they'll say, oh, it doesn't look like it's burning. It doesn't look like it's etching the finish. Remember, we're not out here fixing bad plaster jobs with this. We're just removing that haze that causes all the scaling, all the streaking, and all the feet print. We're getting rid of that. So all we're doing is just walking around, removing this haze. So it hydrates more, you will see that it starts looking better and better. See this wall, you're getting darker spots and lighter spots. As you hydrate that, those spots will even out. A lot of people worry when they first start to use this because they're so used to muriatic acid. Have a little patience and you'll see the reason why we switched over 100%. Remember, this product wasn't made by somebody that's not in the industry. This product's made by people that apply pool finishes every single day. You know, like us. You know, we came up with this product to help us. Most of the manufacturers will make a product to make money. We made this product to where it would help us. And made 3 rounds around this pool, and I've used 2 gallons is all I've used. But because of this applicator, it helps me spray this out nice and even. Now I'm going to get over here and put on the sun bench. Now, make sure you're watching this next move. This is very important. You saw me walking around in there. I've been walking on top of my pool wash and all, right? Here I am walking across the travertine deck because it doesn't hurt the travertine deck. I clean travertine decks and pavers with this product. So, I'm hitting the coping, any splatter that I've gotten on there. Look at that. Nice and even. There's no big puddles of acid running down these faces, making streaks or anything like that. So any spot that I hit that I see foams a little bit more, I can spray that a little bit harder and it dissolves that even more. Yeah. So, you see that streak coming out of that, right? We're not even going to worry about that. We're going to take care of that when we brush it and pressure wash it. It's going to get rid of those streaks. So what I'm doing now is I'm just moving my pool wash around on this floor. sometimes you get a little bit of that cream or that dust, and you just want to break through it a little bit more. And that's what this is doing. It's helping just to cut through a little bit of stuff and cleaning it up a little bit better. I always like to make sure I'm doing the best job I can, and I'll always do this little extra stuff to make it look as best as we can. So once you get it all on, we're just doing a little bit of brushing to tighten it up. And the next thing is, while I'm brushing, I'm looking for spots that I'm going to have to do a little bit of grinding on. That's a cream spot. I'm going to cut through it with my grinder, and then when I recirculate my pool wash, it'll make it look all even. But while I'm brushing, I'm looking for spots that I'm going to need to address before I do my recycle on this pool. So you can see this spot where there's a little bit extra cream at. So I've done my pool wash and I've scrubbed it with my brush. Now I'm going to tighten this up. And what it was, that came because there was some water problems in the pool and we had a lot of bleeders. So all I did was that quick. I fixed that. And then as I was brooming, I was looking for the areas that I saw I needed to address. And those were these areas. Nobody does a 100% perfect job. There's always some things to fix. You know, that this affords you that little bit of time to get everything fixed, so when you fill the pool up, you don't have to worry about it. It's easier to fix the pool when it's empty than it is when it's full. Spend some time. Do over your work. Be proud of it. Be proud of it. Now I had plenty of pool wash in here. And if you test the chemistry in the buckets before you put it in the applicator, it's going to give you one reading. It's going to give me the same reading right now after I've used it. So my pH and alkalinity haven't changed even though I've used it. So rather than throwing all that good product away, I'm going to recycle it with this pump. And I have it set up to where I can discharge it if I had a lot of water in here. But I'm just going to use my water hose to discharge it. On this water hose, I cut this hose down to 30 foot, and I have a connector where I can put on another 50 foot if I need it. Because you don't want all your product in the hose, and it's not enough to recirculate it. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to continue to hydrate. Now remember how that wall was looking earlier? Really blotchy? As I hydrate this, look at that. It's getting more even. And it's still going to get a little bit better. Remember, patience. Patience. Muriatic acid is causing not all, I mean, we all got problems that ain't coming from muriatic acid, but in the plaster industry, muriatic acid is what's killing you. Killing you. There's a lot of people out there that says, I don't think this stuff is, well, not a lot of people, but there's people out there that are pessimistic and say, I've been using muriatic acid my whole life. That's what I'm going to keep on using. Well, I'm doing a lot of pools, and one thing you really won't see is if you've got a pool plaster company owner that's doing 3,000 pools a year, he doesn't even have a set of trials usually. I plaster swimming pools every day, and I come out and expose swimming pools every day. I prep swimming pools. I do the warranty. I talk to mad homeowners, talk to a lot of good plaster guys on the telephone. So this is what I do for a living. This isn't just somebody out trying to sell you something. I'm not even trying to sell you anything. I'm just trying to tell you how to use it and what the best luck that we've had. If you get to using this and you find a better way, man, I'd love for you to share that with me. I know that this isn't the way I'll be doing it in a few years. Hopefully I can get it even better. But the more experience I get, the better I'm going to be. And a lot of that experience comes from the guys that I talk to that have different ways of using it. So I'm hydrating, hydrating, hydrating. You can see how that wall is starting to even out a lot more. So as I'm hydrating, I found another spot that I need to fix. So that's what I just did. Another thing is, when I get back to the shop, I'm going to talk to my foreman of this job, and I'm going to explain to him the areas, because I've got video of this job, of the areas that I want him to do a better job on. Remember, if you're a pool plasterer, how many times have you went out and seen your pools after they were done? Have you ever acid washed them? Have you ever went out and started them up? Oh, they look great when you left. Well, after you leave and they dry, that's a whole different story. So I'm just recirculating this as much as I can. And remember that I'm just one guy out here doing the work, and this pool is going to take me about an hour and a half to do it. And I'm going to show you part of the reasons it's going to not take me so much time. I'm not in any hurry. I'm just walking around. One of the reasons why I'm not in a hurry is because I'm not coughing. I don't have a rag in my hand over my mouth and coughing on that Murata. Here's a little math for us. I started out with 6 gallons, okay? I've got 1.5 gallons in there. Where are my other 4.5 gallons? I got a little bit on the floor where it's saturated, but all that extra material has been absorbed into the walls. So when you're using muriatic acid and you start off with 9 gallons and you only end up pumping out 4 or 5, where is that other product at? Is that muriatic acid? That muriatic acid, it's been absorbed into those walls. All right? If we had a couple more days and a lot more battery on this camera, we would start talking about a 28-day startup and why you get plaster dust. Plaster dust comes from low calcium water on the fill, and also all that muriatic acid that's been absorbed into that plaster. When you spray the shell down before you plaster, that shell absorbs that water. When you plaster that pool and you come back to acid wash or pool wash, that plaster absorbs that material into the walls. So if you just rinse this pool down and leave and you've washed it with muriatic acid, you've got problems with your startup. If you use 10 gallons of acid or 10 gallons of pool wash and you only got 1.5 gallons or 3 or 4 gallons left over, half of your material has been absorbed into your walls. This is an 18,000 gallon swimming pool. Imagine if you put 4 gallons of acid in here. What's that going to do to your pH? Where's that material? It's just been absorbed into the walls. That's what we're going to work on now. All right, so here, remember we talked about all that product, pool wash or muriatic acid getting absorbed into those walls. We're going to fix that now. And how we're going to fix that is with sodium bicarbonate. Remember, all I've done right here is I've rinsed everything down. Got a little water in the bowl. This is my recirculating pump. I'm going to put that into the bicarb. I'm going to start pre-dissolving that bicarb. That way it pumps easier. A lot of times you'll get a lot of foam in here and your pump won't work. You got to play with it a lot. This is one of the things that I've come up with that helped me. Hopefully somebody's watching this that'll be able to tell me a better way than fighting with his bicarb every day. So all that product has been absorbed. We're letting this pool dry a little bit, we're going to wash it down with sodium bicarbonate now, so we can neutralize everything that's been absorbed into that finish. So if you neutralize all the pool wash or all the muriatic acid that's been absorbed into that wall, and you fill your pool up with balanced water, your calcium levels are balanced, your pH is good, and your alkalinity is good, there's no more plaster dust. There's no more spikes in pH. You're not going out there every day fighting your chemistry. The problem that makes it where we have to fight our chemistry is in the walls right now. That's why when we use 5 or 10 gallons of what we're ever using, and there's only half of that left to pump out, we've got to neutralize that half that's in there. That's where all your problems with startups and scaling and all that, that's where they're all coming from. So remember, I always reiterate this. I work for a living. Every single day I plaster or do this or prep pools or dive pools and fix stuff. This is what I do for a living. So I'm not just some guy that was selling main drain covers or something last week and now I'm selling the next best product. This is how I make a living. And I'm just going to hydrate this wall with bicarb. And look, I'm getting my coping, everything inside the fittings. Look how even that wall looks now. Remember it was blotchy when we started? That's why you got to have a little bit of patience. You know, you hear classes of Randy Dukes and everybody talking about hydration, hydration, hydration. We're hydrating that wall. Look at that. Man, that looks great. It's coming out even. And remember, we still have to pressure wash this. But we're going to show you a little trick that gets it to where you don't have all of that pressure washing time. We're going to use a brush in just a minute. But so what I'm doing now, I've got to mix my bicarb up a little bit more. So I'm using the water in the bicarb. And remember, we want that bicarb to get sucked up into this finish. All of that material that's been absorbed by this finish, we want to neutralize it. So we push it in to that finish. Now remember, everybody, there's some people that are saying, there's a lot of pessimistic people out there, and they're saying, well man, that's taking too long. It only takes me an hour or 30 minutes to acid wash a swimming pool. Well, it used to take me 30 minutes to acid wash a swimming pool too, and it would take me months sometimes to fix pools with hot starts, with low pH and low alkalinity exposure methods. Well, spend a little bit of time, and all those service guys that are saying it's bad plaster issues, you'll be able to pinpoint them. It's not bad plaster. So, a little bit of time. A little bit of time. So, now I'm got my pump working good with my bicarb, and I'm just rehydrating and bicarbing everything. I mean, you can't get enough bicarb on here. Now, if you look at my bicarb, you'll see it's not foaming anymore. That means we've neutralized everything. See, I can spray my coping and deck. I'm not getting out of the pool to hit that with this bicarb. I'm just neutralizing everything. I'm going to get up there in a second and brush that, but I'm in no hurry. And remember, I'm not going to pump anything out of this pool that's not neutral. So you can see my bicarb isn't bubbling, so that means it's quit working because it's neutralized everything. I'm doing that in the pool. I'm not putting a bucket of bicarb on the ground and pumping something into it and neutralizing it out there. It's all in the pool. Be a little bit responsible and don't pump out all your harsh chemicals into the yard. Keep them in the pool and neutralize them. Look, just taking my time. Taking my time. the more time you take with this bicarb and the next two steps, the less calls you're going to have. You're not going to be spending all that money out there doing those. Some people call it a hot startup. I call that a low alkalinity, low pH exposure method. That's not a startup. That's fixing a bad plaster job or a bad acid wash job. That's nothing to do with a startup. You can't fix a bad plaster job with a startup. A startup is making your water balanced. It's not fixing streaks and feet print or underexposed or overexposed areas. That's part of the plaster and exposure part. It's not part of the startup. Now, I have done some jobs. I've done a lot of jobs where I've had to do a low pH, low alkalinity exposure on them when the pool's full of water. You know, things are going to happen. Nobody's perfect. Taking my time. See the part, look at that wall. That's perfectly even now. And remember, that didn't look that good when we first got here, but that wall is even. That's what you're going to look like when the pool is full. And remember, this wasn't a wand wash. This was a brush wash exposure on this pebble, not a wand wash. It's no much more different in how it looks, just the application, because there's some people that want to know if there's going to be a difference.
Nice.
Now, we haven't, when we were done using a pool wash, or if you were using acid, there were streaks in that wall. They're all gone because we've hydrated them with this bicarb, and it's washed them off. Look at that. There's no streaks. Hold on. Look at this floor. There's no streaks in this floor now. You can see where the natural water is running down, but there's no more of those black streaks. There's no more black streaks because, for one, we scrubbed it with the brushes while we were using the pool wash, and then we used this bicarb. The streaks are gone. And look, there's no feet print. There's no streaks. There's no nothing. But still yet, we're going to, the same way that we scrub these walls and floor with the brushes with the pool wash, we're going to do it with the bicarb. And then we're going to pressure wash. Now, a lot of people just pressure wash, and it takes a long time to pressure wash. What you're doing when you're pressure washing is you're removing any of the oxidation that anything acidic has touched your dyes, has oxidized it. It's turned it dark. And that's on a white finish too, on a white pebble or white quartz. It's still going to oxidize the metals that's in that white cement. So when you pressure wash it, you're removing that. But it takes a lot longer to do. So what we do is we use the brooms. We've hydrated everything good. We're going to broom this whole thing down to get rid of about 99% of the oxidation. And then we're going to use a dual tip on our pressure washer. And I'm only using 3,500 PSI on my pressure washer. By bicarbing it and brushing it, we've taken off almost 99% of that oxidation. All we're doing with the pressure washer now is getting off any residue or dust. And look, that's not strong. See how quick we're doing that? Alright, so I started to wet it, but I didn't want to. See how there's no pressure washer lines really? I mean, you can barely light see them. You don't want pressure washer lines. If you're getting pressure washer lines, that means you didn't bicarb it and brush it good enough, okay? You don't need to spend that much time and that much pressure if you use the bicarb and you use the broom. A broom costs you 15 bucks. 6,000 PSI pressure washer costs you $10,000, $12,000. So bicarb, lightly brush. And look at this. When this pool is hydrated, there's not one mark. Everything is even. Let's hydrate this good. Now look at that finish. Perfect. This is I will not get a call back on this pool. Not get a call back. And you remember when we first started videoing this pool, we had this wall over here that was real blotchy and it just didn't look that good. There was a streak under that side suction. Nothing. In front of this swim out, when we were using the pool wash, there were big streaks everywhere. There's none. Look how clean that tile is. We didn't scrub that. This pool wash cleans that tile perfectly. And you remember all the big streaks, those big black streaks that were on this floor? There's not one streak. There's not one footprint. There's nothing. All we got now is money because we're going to get paid. The only thing that can mess this up is just bad chemistry about a month and a half or 2 months from now. Water's going in it. We're good. We out.